Patrick O'Keeffe Traditional Music Festival is held every October bank holiday weekend in Castleisland, County Kerry, since it was established in 1993. And that was to mark the 30th anniversary of the man who lived behind my back here. His 30th anniversary occurred in 1993. The first festival was actually called the Patrick O'Keeffe Harvest Music Festival, but that was changed in the years after to the Patrick O'Keeffe Traditional Music Festival. It was founded by Peter Browne, who prompted Mary Jones that something should be done about Patrick O'Keeffe and his music and his legacy on the 30th anniversary of his death. And Mary garnered the support in the Castleisland area then through publicans and public bodies and all kinds of other support in order to get the festival up and running. And the first one, got on the
road. My father used to go on the beat, which was, for people that don't know, a load of working men left Ireland in maybe September or October and went across to England and worked in the beet factories in England, making sugar out of sugar beet. And he came back with a fiddle, a full-size fiddle, and shortly after I walked the Glounthaune Cross and started with Paddy O'Keeffe. I can remember the first day, Paddy, to the nice dry Sunday, it was always a Sunday I went to Paddy O'Keeffe, to the nice dry Sunday afternoon, and Paddy made a big welcome and asked would he put on a cup of tea for me, and took my coat and hung it on the newel or the bottom leg of the stairs, and then he proceeded to write a set of rules about holding the fiddle, and that was all the rules he ever gave, and he never enforced the rules. That after that, if you did the wrong thing, Paddy, he might say, hold it up or something like that, but he didn't work very hard in correcting you. After a while you were left to your own devices. It was strictly a matter of learning the tune you were given. But some time after, I'd say when I was about 30 years of age, imagine, passing through Limerick, coming from someplace one day, I had a look through the music shops and I saw a record with a very an old LP, 33 RPM LP, with a psychedelic cover called The Star Above the Garter. And it was only when I listened to that a few times and asked myself, what's happening in this music? What are these people doing? Because something was happening in this music that didn't happen in any other music that I ever had, ever before or since. In other words, there was a dríocht, a magic, a soul, a story flowing from the flow and the cadence and the rhythms of this music that came from a very deep and strange place. And it had nothing to do with technique. Technique might harm it, but a man could have plenty of technique and maybe not harm it as well. But at that age of my life, when I was 30 years of age, it was then I understood what my father meant when he said, when you heard O'Keeffe play, you knew that nobody could play a fiddle like that. So it was then I began to appreciate having known that grand old gentleman and having handwritten tunes that he wrote for me. So I kept that love of the music always. It was
the Sunday night of Cork Folk Festival in 1993. I was in the festival club and two people stood in front of me, Mike Kenny and Mary Jones. I had never met either of them, and for the next half an hour Mike enthused about his ideas for this festival, and that they had discussed it with Peter Browne. That's Mary, Peter and Mike, and of course some other people in Castle Island as well, your good self. But Kenny, he was beyond enthusiastic about Paddy O'Keeffe and the celebration and the idea and all the rest of it. And of course, some weeks later, we were here in Castle Island in October 1993 for the first festival, and of course we're now into the 25th year of it. I've been here probably every year except for about 2 years. I missed 2 years because I was abroad. Other than that, I've come here. I've been asked to go to other festivals at this time of the year, and I don't go. Like, this is just number one, full stop. I consider this to be one of the most important and indeed most enjoyable festivals that I go to each year. As we know, it celebrates the wonderful legacy of Paddy O'Keeffe, or Patrick O'Keeffe, the Sliabh local fiddle master, and we celebrate his legacy in terms of the style of music itself, the man himself, the repertoire of tunes and so on. So there are various facets and various levels to it, but all focused on Paddy O'Keeffe in particular and the music of Sliabh local then in a wider sense.
There was a family interest and friendship with Dennis Murphy that my uncle Ivor had, and my father then. So we came down and stayed a few times in Guinea with him, and he did stay in Dublin with us. So myself and my brother, I remember, like we played his tunes. Nobody ever mentioned Sliabh local at that stage. I don't think Dennis even knew. You know, the name Sliabh local didn't feature at all that I know of anyway. But we just regarded Dennis as kind of a star, and those Gaelin 78s where he played reels like St. Anne's and that we just learned all these things off him. So through that, I suppose, there was a man called John Welsh, who's a fiddle player and a composer, and he suggested to me that we make a documentary about Paddy O'Keeffe, and whatever it was, I took him up on it and came down to do a few sort of exploratory talks with a few people, but went to Downtown and met Mary's mother. And then I'd known that the recordings that were made by Seamus Ennis in Horan's Bar in 1952 were there, and these were part of the thing. So I said to Mary's mother, and who's in Horan's Bar now? And she told me that it was her own daughter was running the place. So then we went into Mary. Mary was very helpful, and I remember the first night we did some recording of interviews in upstairs in Horan's, as in Jones's, as in the Rambling House. I know that Dermot Hanifin was there. There was a man called Tim Kerris was there as well. I think Dennis McMahon was there as well. And from that, you know, each lead led to another.
I remember at the time, you know, because of the fact, I suppose, that it was Patrick O'Keeffe and all that, I had a fierce interest in what Peter was doing. So, you know, I just thought maybe we'd have something. I remember you saying to me at the time, to make sure to get the right people on the committee. That it'd be important to get the right people.
Actually, I remember, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Just people that can work
that
with
would
each other.
That would be able to, you know, that would have an interest in music and that, and that's why I picked John Reidy and Mike Kenny.
Yeah.
That was they just fitted in.
You know, it's always said that the broadcast of the programmes made, in some way, gave a push for the festival, or sowed the seed of the idea. And I do remember in RTE, okay, when they went out, in radio itself there wasn't much mention of them, but I remember meeting a man in the corridor who was a senior manager in radio, and there's a sort of a higher editorial sort of board that meets there, and the director general at the time was a man called Bob Collins from Adair, and he had an interest in this. So this man walking down the corridor, he said to me something like, he said, "Did you make a programme about a fiddle player?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I did." And he said, "Bob Collins was raving about it this morning." So at the highest echelon in RT, Bob Collins knew what the value of this was. These were men that they weren't, how would you say, intimately associated with Steve Rook or fiddle playing, but he had heard them, and that gave sort of a stimulus in radio. But it's always said, and I don't know how true it is, I wasn't part of the making the festival, but that the documentary programmes in some way pushed the festival to start, and as you see 25 years on, it was worthwhile that it all worked out that way.
From the very offset, of the festival, we set out to promote the music of Sliabh Luachra, and particularly the fiddle playing of Paddy Jones, but the whole musical culture of Sliabh Luachra, and we've kept that at the centre of how we run the festival, and all classes are directed that way. So if you come to Castle Island to learn fiddle or flute or whatever instrument you're learning, it'll be the Sliabh Luachra style of it is what you'll be hearing or learning. I'd like to say and thank all the funding agencies who help us. There's a lot of local sponsorship involved, and we get support from the Arts Council, and we get support from North, East and West Kerry and Kerry County Council. And as a result, we were able to run the festival, and without their support we couldn't, so it's important, you know. And I suppose the other thing I'd like to say about the festival is there is an element of fun to it throughout. Sessions spring up where you wouldn't expect them, and so it's apart from being a serious musical festival, there is a lot of fun to be had at it.